Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division in the Fall Major Tournament. The course is from the Eagle Peak, which is completely new, so it's 9 brand new holes. This video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. We're going to start off with hole number 1, and before I take my shot, do not forget to check down in the video description down below, and you will be able to see direct timestamps for all the holes in this playthrough. So if you don't want to watch hole number 1, you maybe just want to watch hole number 3, press on the timestamp and you will get directed to hole number 3 instead. So you can see our opponent is playing on the right side here. I'm going to play a more aggressive line on the left, or I would say a harder drive. I would have to say, aggressive or not, that we will have to judge ourselves, but I do believe that the right side could potentially put ourselves in a danger, as if we don't have enough distance, we're going to be stuck behind the trees and having a tough time to reach for the green. Here I would suggest that you're using a quasar if you do have anyone, so you do have more side spin, then you don't have to go with curl. We're going to add 20% extra to this drive and go in with max top spin, max side spin with the extra mile level 5, which is going to be 4.5 bar top spin. You can see I'm going to add 20%, so I'm going to play this one around 1.2 rings. You can see I'm using a slight amount of curl. The reason I'm using curl is because I don't have more side spin than I have on the mall in there. I get the first bounce, then bounce in the tip of the rough there on the other side, and roll nicely down there on the fairway. Have in mind that this fairway is massively downhill, so if you do have a club that allow you to have more topspin, use 5 bars of topspin as a maximum. Now our opponent is behind the trees but can actually play over it, but have no chance as you can see, or no chance, but at least don't have a good chance with the tailwind here to go directly at the pin. And with just a drive that would be a little bit closer to the left side or a little bit shorter, then he would be having the tree line in play, and then that would have been a very tough shot towards the pin, and even to a tough shot towards the green. And that is something that we need to have in mind big time when we're playing this par 4. For us, we're going to have a more open shot, and as you can see, and I'm going to, with this type of wind, I'm going to play before, like on the first piece of fairway, bouncing that over towards the pin, using the blue ring, just cutting the rough there on top, 1 bar of top spin. If I would be having headwind, I would be going with 1.5 to 2 bars of topspin. If I would be having crosswind, I would be going with 1 bar of topspin there as well. The important part here is to get over the rough here. We're going to add 10% extra in over adjustment to this shot, as we're playing this one still slightly downhill. 3.4 rings in a 5 mile per hour wind. Hit it slightly great on the left, and this is going to miss on the left, but getting it very, very close, and this is definitely going to be a potential eagle here for hole number 1. So hole number 2 is going to be par 3, and that is going to be very important as well to play that one in a good way. And now we're going to have an elevation adjustment that is going to be 30% extra. That is going to be, that's an insane amount to play extra on a par 3. There isn't many holes. I think there is only 1 hole in the whole game that you have a more adjustment when it comes to downhill approach, or uphill approach for that matter. So our opponent is playing with a wood club here, and playing with a big dog is not going to be the best way to get close to the pin or getting close to getting the hole in 1. So I'm going to play with the backbone, playing my backbone in max distance of my club, going to drag down a little bit with the landing position, using the white ring as a reference here, as I want the white ring to cut the rough on the bottom there. 2 bars of top spin, and going to aim straight at the hole here. We do forget something here, is that we need to compensate a little bit, as we're going to have a push a little bit to the left. 20% extra. We're going to play this one 3.4 rings. Sorry, 30% extra, not 20, my bad. So I did say 30 from the beginning, now it's a 20. So 30% extra in adjustment. You can see with 2 bars of topspin, we're going to land very nice and close towards the pin here. With a little bit better direction, we're going to be that get that one in the hole. 30% extra, can't stress that enough. 2 bars of topspin when I'm having a little bit of headwind. If I'm having tailwind, that one I would go with 1.5 bar topspin as we're going to have a more speed when the ball hits the ground. Crosswind, then we'll go with 2 bars of topspin there as well. Hole number 3. Now we're going to use the right side. I'm not going to even pay attention to the left side at all, as that is a way that, in my opinion, just fools us a little bit. In how this hole is designed. So I'm going to play right side, and now I do have an XMI level 5, I do have the distance, I do have a power 3 ball, and can, for that matter, go over the rough directly there on the right and put myself as close there to the top as possible. That will give myself a shot towards the green, which is going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to get it in the hole, but at least we're going to get a very easy eagle. If you do not have a setup like I do, you maybe don't want to use any special balls in any way. You might just want to play with a basic ball, and you do have an XMI like this or something like that. Try to pick the big topper if you do have that in the bag. Then you can bounce before the rough and bounce it over to the next fairway, and you will be able to see here from our opponent that our opponent is bouncing before the rough here as well, trying to bounce and run as far as possible here on this fairway with the top spin that is on the extra mile. So of course, if we can go with a club that do have a little bit more top spin, then that would be the best if we do want to bounce it before the rough. Now for the second shot here, you can see we're going to be in between clubs, and that is something that is very important to take a note from. So we can do 2 ways here. We can either use our long iron with more backspin if we do have an upgraded Saturn, or we maybe have an upgraded Guardian. Then we can use the backspin approach with the Saturn to go straight at the pin. We can use the backspin approach with the Guardian to use the back of the pin to fall back down. Here I'm going to use a method that might not give us that many albatross, but it at least will give us a chance for the albatross. That is to use the back of the green, get it up there to the fringe or to the fairway there on the top, and the ball will fall down towards the pin. Now we're coming in a little bit too much to the left, and that just tells us that we need to aim more straight at the pin to let the ball fall down to be close as the pin. And that is going to be a very interesting shot depending on the wind that we're going to have in the tournament. But that is a way to at least secure the eagle in a very good way if we're not having the upgraded and the level clubs for that. Hole number 4. Now we're going to play this shot for 10% extra adjustment. Max side spin on the marlin and 1 bar top spin. Something that I would really want to add to you here is, no matter what type of wind we're going to have, we do need to play with a ball that gives us more side spin. I would prefer to go with a quasar, but as this is a shootout in the regular tour play, I cannot change my ball. Otherwise I would be playing with a quasar, giving myself more side spin so I can put my landing position more to the left and have more room towards the rough and the bunker to the right, so I do have a margin for hitting the ball great on the right side. 1 bar of topspin, giving ourselves a very nice distance with tailwind. So 1 bar of topspin with tailwind. With crosswind, I would go with 1.5 to 2 bars of topspin. With headwind, I would be going with 2 bars of topspin there. But again, the key here is having side spins so we can aim more to the left, so we stay away from the troubling part on the right side there. And then we're also going to have more room to bounce on the fairway just after the rough and the bunker there on the top. The worst thing we can do is to do, not maybe the worst thing, but one of the things that we can do that might not be that well to us is that we go like this. With that amount of backspin as our opponent is having, it's going to roll over the green and down into the rough, and that is of course something that we want to prevent. So and again, sure, we can go with a wood club with a guardian with max backspin approach, but it's not that often that we're going to have that club when we're playing in rookie. Sometimes just in level 1, so I don't feel that is going to be the best general way to play that hole. So let's go to hole number 5. We're already halfway through in this playthrough, and hole number 5 is going to require a ball with a good amount of side spin, combined with a club with as much curl as possible. We could play this hole with a Titan combined with a quarterback. That will give us the power that would be around an extra mile level 4, level 5. And combined with the curl on the quarterback, it will be a fairly easy approach for us to get the ball to stay on the fairway. But if we don't have that, and that is what I'm going to show now, let's say you would be having a club that don't give you that curl, it's still going to be enough to have that low amount of curl that we're going to have on next mile level 5 here. I'm going to play with the Katana, which gives me a lot of side spin, all about 1 bar to the left, as that is the maximum I can do, combined with the top spin that I'm going to have, and that is going to be 4.5 bar of top spin. So now we're going to curl. You can see we can only use, this is the max curl on our club, and that is going to be enough. I would love to use 1 ball of curl to the left instead, like 1 ball outside the adjustment ring there as curl, but this is going to work with the side spin. With the curl, we're going to put ourselves past the trees there in the center and have an open shot towards the pin. I'm not adding anything for elevation for my first shot, so I'm just playing it as it is. So, and this is a tricky drive, especially if we would be having a wind that would be left, like crosswind left to right. That would be a very tough one there. That would be easy for us to put alongside the trees there in the center, and then that second shot is going to be terrible to try to get to the green if we are having the trees in our way. So the thing that we do want to do again is that we do want to try to stay away from that and go on the left side, so we're not going to struggle with that. Our opponent's having a rough iron here, and this is going to be dangerously close to the rough and the sand, and that is again not a position that we would be feeling comfortable with. And on all the par 4s, we do want to feel that we at least have a shot for the pin, even if it's a hard one. Now for our second shot, we're going to add a lot for elevation. I'm going to add, for hole number 5, I'm going to add 30% in adjustment here when we're playing this one massively downhill. You can see how much we're going to drop down to a lower point. Just look at this ball guideline, how much it drops down there. I'm going to play this one with 1 bar of backspin and max side spin to the right here. I would prefer to play this one with a thorn with more backspin, as I like to go directly on the green instead of using this bumpy slope here on the fairway to have a double bounce towards the pin. I'd rather take 1 bounce on the green and then a backspin to fall in the hole there. And also adjusting here on this slope is going to be very tough when it comes to the rings, as we cannot zoom in as much as we want to. So I hit it perfect there, and coming nicely towards the pin with speed. Need to maybe take away that bar of backspin so we do have enough speed there to go towards the pin. But again, 30% extra for the second shot in terms of elevation. The drive, we're not adding anything whatsoever. So now we are going to play with the hole number 6, and I'm going to show you 2 different type of drives. It's going to, and that two different wrestles of the drive, I will have to say. One here where we're going to have some slight headwind, and I'm going max overpower and going to aim for going with first bounce and then second bounce in the rough to roll out to the fairway. You can see here that we lose distance when we cut the rough and going to be pretty short here on this fairway, but can't stress that enough, that going over to that fairway is going to be so important in the way for us to get there towards the pin for our second shot. So our opponent's going to try the same thing with a Marlin. I highly suggest that if you do want to try to go with a single bounce, then the rough for the second bounce, then go with a power 3 ball. Otherwise, you'd have to go with a double bounce, as our opponent did do there. It was a pretty lucky one, but we can go for a double bounce before the rough to roll over there. Now for the second shot, you can see we're not going to be able to reach that far as we do have a Viper. I would suggest that if we find ourselves in a position where we're going to have some headwind or crosswind for our first shot, then that means that we're going to have a little bit more distance for the second shot, and I would be going with the big dog if I do have that one unlocked to give myself as much distance as possible. So going short with the drive wouldn't destroy the whole hole for us. Now I'm going to bounce before the rough. And the problem we can have with that type of a shot is that if we're just slightly off with our adjustment, we're going to cut the rough for a second bounce. Now we're coming in very close there, but I can't go with more backspin, like with like 1 bar backspin. I can go with a tiny bit of backspin, then I'm going to be very close the rough there, because I don't want to cut the rough and roll out and have a wedge. So in the next example here, I'm going to show you first that we're going to have some tailwind, how this drive is going to be if we're going to do just a complete smashed, very well done drive. So we're not going to cut the rough at all. And that will allow us to play a different second shot, which I like more. And that is what we're going to show here. So 2.4 max topspin. The adjustment for elevation here for hole number 6 is going to be 20% extra. So I know when stretching my ball out here to max overpower, and I see that I'm going to reach over to the other piece of fairway, then I know that I'm going to, even if I hit this ball great, I know that I'm going to easily get this one over here to the fairway. We cannot hit the ball good, of course, then we're going to danger be in the rough. It's going to be a little bit risky when it comes to going with overpower, but I do believe that it's going to be a shot that we are going to have to make, even here from the front tee. You can just picture yourself how hard this hole is going to be from the second tee with lower upgraded clubs. But it's all about how we play the course, and sometimes we need to apply overpower, especially when it is a par 5, when we do have some distance. Our opponent, you can see here with a basic ball and that tailwind, then it was a possibility to get that one over there. Now you can see here how much distance we reach combined. Like, we have so much more distance than we had for the first example. And now I'm going to go for the rough bump. The only problem with the rough bump here is that we don't have enough topspin. We only have 1.5 bar of topspin. That also screams off that we do need to play with a big dog or another club that gives us, first and foremost, more distance, but second of all, more topspin. We're not going to add anything for elevation for the second shot, that we're just going to play as it is. And I do want to play with 2.5 bar of topspin here. Because you can see here, we're going to get it to the green, but we're going to go short. So we do need more topspin, otherwise we're going to have a trouble to get this one towards the pin. So that was 2 examples, pretty similar example, but still a bit different as well for hole number 6. And then we're going to go over to hole number 7. And hole number 7 is going to be the last par 3. And as for the other 2 par 3s, it's going to be a very tough par 3. But this would most likely be the tougher of them 3. But when it's tough, I like it. I like it big time. So there we go. Hole number 7. Look at this course. If we do just want to take a safe birdie and don't want to try to go for the hole-in-one, then we can play on the fairway patch on the left side, not here as our opponent is, but as you can see in the beginning here, the fairway on the left there on the game screen. Then we can just bounce this one over, trying to stay away from the trees on the right to bounce ourselves towards the green and have a pretty long putt, but still a manageable putt. If we do want to go for the hole-in-one, I do believe that the right side is going to be the play that we need to go with. Have in mind that if you're playing left, stay away from that bunker, because that is definitely going to be tough. Look at how this ball is reacting. We're coming up to the top. it falls down. So even if we come in a bit hot, the ball is going to fall down for us and going to give us around a 5-6 yard putt, which is a putt that we're definitely going to make. Now I'm going to play my shot, and I'm going to aim on the right side as well. Now I'm having a Titan, which is not required, as I only got a Titan in this match because I played it in the regular course. So I would be playing though with a Quasar to give myself at least that type of side spin one, as we do have with the Quasar. You can see we're having the tip of the ball guideline pointing to the right side of the pin, and that is because we do having the side wind or the crosswind that coming from right to left. That is going to push us a little bit more to the left, combined with that the hill there is going to push us to the left as well. Now I hit it great, which is going to make us miss to the left, but you can see here how it works. Coming in with a very, very good speed, and with hitting that ball perfect, we never know how that would have been. I don't use any type of topspin or head or backspin whatsoever. I would go with half a bar of backspin if I would be having tailwind. If I would be having headwind, then I would be going with half a bar of topspin, just compensate for the different type of wind. So now we're going to go to hole number 8, the last par 4, and this is going to be a course, depending on the wind that the game maker is going to give us, that we can actually get this ball to the green in one. Our opponent's going to try and be very close to at least get it out of the rough with a basic ball. I would highly suggest that if you do want to try this type of approach, use a ball with more side spin. Then he would most likely be putting himself in there. But it's also a possibility when we do have more topspin to just trickle that ball in the rough to roll down towards the fairway and close to the green. I'm going to, in the end, play this shot very conservative to play on the right side. The way to play on the left and the right side is going to be exactly the same. The thing that I would suggest that if you do have a big topper, let's say you would be having a big topper for this shot, then you can actually play before the bunker using max topspin to get through the tree. With that max topspin, you're going to roll through the rough and get out to the fairway on top as an ultimate situation, and then you're definitely going to have a very good chance for an eagle. And I do believe that this is going to be a shot or a course that is almost going to be a required eagle if we're going to have to win. And depending on the wind, I'm going to show you on the playthrough that comes when the wind is revealed from the game makers when the tournament starts. Then I'm going to show you a way how to go for the pin directly if we do have the wind that allows us to do so. Now you can see our opponent's having a very short rough iron shot, and that is going to be a very good opportunity, but from the rough it's always going to be a little bit harder to hit the ball perfect, so I do value a short iron shot better than a rough iron shot every single time. And for us, we are going to play, as you can see, I play the right side, and I think the right side is easier as it's a little bit more open than the left side. But in terms of like with no elevation adjustment for the drive and for the extra adjustment we're going to have for the second shot, that is going to be the same. So it's going to be 30% extra for the second shot here. You can just look here how much downhill this is going to be, and this is something that is going to be very tough for everyone to get these shots dialed in. So I'm going to aim straight at the pin, a little bit to the right of the pin there. I'm going to play in medium distance of my club, adding 30% to my adjustment here. And you can see here as well that it's very hard to adjust with the rings here, especially here with the Hornet, as the rings are so small and we cannot zoom in more as it is so massively downhill from the position we are at. We hit it perfect. You can see here we're coming in with a nice bounce, but again, the fairway is a bit bumpy there, and sometimes we're going to be pushed a little bit more to the left and sometimes going to be pushed a little bit more to the right. Last but not least, we're going to end up with hole number 9, and I feel that I found a very good spot with the drive here from the front tee. First, I do like us to play with a power 3 ball. Doesn't matter if we're going to play left or right side, we're going to play with a power 3 ball. I do see that many players is going to take away the way of playing on the right side, as the drive there looks very tricky. And I don't blame you for doing so, but if we do want to have a safer way to play for the eagle, we're going to play right side, and we're going to play for the rough bump. We're going to use now we are very close to the rough, but we're going to use the yellow ring, just cutting the rough here, adding 10% to our drive here, and then we're going to bounce ourselves out there to the fairway. Instead of using that narrow fairway and risk getting the first bounce in the rough, as we do miss our adjustment or something like that, then we're just going to give ourselves the option with that max topspin, max side spin to roll here to the top of the fairway. And again, why don't we play on the left side? Because it's so much open. It's because that we are most likely not going to have enough distance on our club combined with topspin that we're going to put ourselves as far as we want on that fairway to stay away from the tree line that we do have the whole right side and the whole center there. And having the trees in our way, that is not going to be the way that we do want to play. So if you do have a big topper, I do definitely believe that the left side is going to be a really good way to play, because then you can use max topspin to bounce yourself as far as possible on that fairway. Now with the quarterback here, you can see how many trees there is in the way here, and there's no way whatsoever to go straight at the pin, and that is always what we're looking for, because that we can do here. Even if I'm having the Viper, I can still reach over to that second piece of fairway. I'm not going to add anything for elevation, so I'm just going to play it without. And you can see I'm aiming straight at the pin, but the first bounce is sometimes going to be a bit inconsistent for us. That is going to push us a little bit more to the right. And for the second shot here as well, with the par 5, we do not want to play with overpower, but we need to, as we are in max distance of our club with the Viper and don't have a more topspin. If I would be having 2.5 bar topspin with the Viper, I can stay with the Viper. But when I'm not having that, then I need to play with another club. Then I'm going to play with a big dog, so I do get myself the distance for the second shot and can allow myself to go a little bit short on the drive and still have the room to reach to that fairway that we were aiming for there. Just take a look at this shot, everyone, that how hard this is going to be, especially with a basic ball, no side spin, a club with less curl as well. Then that shot is going to be very tough. So take that little bit of a more aggressive line with the drive and study the adjustment there, so you do feel comfortable on doing so you get out to the fairway and not get stuck on the fairway, on the rough. This was the playthrough for the Eagle Peak in the Fall Major. This is a little bit of a longer playthrough, but it's important to go over the courses in a good way here, as they are new for everyone, including myself. So it's going to be very interesting to see what type of win we're going to have in the tournament when it starts. If you do have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. I will be there to help you out in the best way possible. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Check out patreon.com/golf-tommy if you do want to get the text guys already, or just want to sign up for a training session and improve your game for the Fall Major. So, this video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Play Dynamics, so good luck in the Fall Major tournament.